Good morning, students. Today we are going to discuss the topic The Spider and the Fly, which was written by Mary Botham Howitt. Right, Mary Botham Howitt. He was born on 1799 to 1888, was an English poet. She was born at Corford in Gloucestershire, England. She was educated at home and read widely. She commenced writing verses at a very early age. Together with her husband, William Howitt, she wrote over 180 books. Okay, next, in this poem, the meanings of the words were parlor. Parlor, a tidy room in a house used for entertaining guests. Then whining, a twisting movement or course. Weary, very tired, especially from hard work. Pantry, a room where beverages, food, dishes are stored. Subtle, delicate or faint and mysterious. Flattering, to praise or compliment insincerely. Counselor, a person who advises. Snugly, in a comfortable, warm and gauzy or well protected manner. Then gauzy means a thin, transparent. Okay, right. In the last page we discussed some of the meaning words only. Now you see stanza wise, okay, some of the words meanings are given. Parlor. Parlor means a sitting room in a private house. The next one, spy. Spy means a secret agent. Then whining. Whining means twist. The next, vain. Vain means useless. In the second stanza you see weary. Weary means tired. Then snugly. Snugly means comfortably. And tuck it means okay, puss. Then cunning. Cunning means tricky. Okay, in the third stanza, cunning means tricky. Then pantry. Pantry means storeroom. Okay. Then fourth stanza, you see witty. Witty means humorous. Then gauzy. Gauzy means transparent. Then behold. Behold means witness. Then pidding. Pidding means offer. Then woe. Woe means weave or knit. Then subtle. Subtle means fine. Then sly. Sly means cunning. Then hither. Hither means near. Pearl means a hard, lustrous spherical mass, typically white or bluish gray. Okay. Then ropes. Ropes means a long, loose outer garment reaching to the ankles. Then crest. Crest means a comb or tuft of. Okay, right. Next one, gauzy. Gauzy means transparent. Behold, witness. Bidding, offer. Woe. Woe means weave or knit. Subtle. Subtle means fine. Sly. Sly means cunning. Then hither. Hither means near. Pearl. Pearl means a hard, lustrous spherical mass, typically white or bluish gray. Next, ropes. Ropes. Okay. A long, loose outer garment reaching to the ankles. Next, crest. Crest means a comb or tuft of feathers, fur or skin on the head of a bird or other animal. The next one, aloft. Aloft means up in or into the air, overhead. Then hue. Hue means a colorful or shade. Fiercely. Fiercely means in a savagely violent or aggressive manner. Then dismal. Dismal means causing a mood of gloom or depression. Then den means a wild mammal's hidden home, a lair. Then flattering. Flattering means full of praise and compliments. Then counselor. Counselor means a person trying to give guidance on personal or psychological problems. Okay, now I'm going to read the stanza 1. Will you walk into my parlor, said the spider to the fly. This is the prettiest little parlor that ever you did spy. The way into my parlor is of a winding store, and I have many pretty things to show when you are there. Oh, no, no, said the little fly. To ask me is in vain, for who goes up your winding stair can never come down again. Summary of the stanza 1. The poem opens with a dialogue between a predator, the spider, and a prey, the fly. In the first stanza, we observe the spider alluring the fly to his parlor. He tries to entice the fly by saying that he has many pretty things to show her inside the parlor. The spider portrays his home as a mysterious place, as the prettiest little parlor to trick the little fly into his web. The fly understands that it's a trap and rejects his invitation by saying that she knows that whoever goes in there never comes out. Next stanza 2. I'm sure you must be weary, dear, with soaring up so high. Will you rest upon my little bed? Said the spider to the fly. There are pretty curtains drawn around, the seats are fine and thin, and if you like to rest a while, I will snugly tuck you in. Oh, no, no, said the little fly, for I have often heard it said, they never, never wake again who sleep upon your bed. Stanza 2. Summary. In the stanza, the spider employs a different trick to convince a fly to enter his home. He fakes concern for her by saying that she must be tired and offers her to get some rest on his snug little bed. He tries to tempt her with a false sense of security as he says that there are pretty curtains drawn around. He tries to appeal to the fly's heart by cunningly offering a shoulder to rest. He tries to establish a connection before he gets ready to eat his prey. Thankfully, exhausted or not, the fly is aware of the fact that if she goes into rest, she might end up sleeping forever. She refuses the spider offer and says that she is absolutely aware that whoever goes to sleep on his bed never wakes up. The repetition of the word never emphasizes on distrust of the fly for the spider. Okay, now stanza 3. Said the cunning spider to the fly, dear friend, what shall I do to prove the warm affection I have always felt for you? I have within in my pantry good store of all that's nice. I am sure you are very welcome. Will you please to take a slice? Oh, no, no, said the little fly. Kind sir, that cannot be. I have here what's in your pantry, and I do not wish to see. Like that, the fly told. The summary of the stanza. This time the spider tries to befriend the fly by calling her dear friend, like that. Okay, he wants to establish a false bond of friendship and affection in order to lure the fly into his home. Again, he tries to persuade the fly to fulfill his wish by offering her good food from his pantry. The fly is, however, determined not to be tricked by the cunning spider. She tactfully refers to the spider as kind sir and tells him that she is not interested in seeing what he has. Okay, next stanza 4. Sweet creature, said the spider, you are witty and you are wise. How handsome are your gauzy wings, how brilliant are your eyes. I have a little looking glass upon my parlor shelf. If you will step in one moment, dear, you shall behold yourself. I thank you, gentle sir, she said, for what you are pleased to say, and bidding you good morning now, I will call another day. Okay, summary stanza 4. The spider does not give up. This time he tries to flatter the fly into doing what he wants her to do. He calls her a sweet creature that is witty and wise. He acknowledges the fly's smartness and decides to coax her by repeatedly complimenting her. He also compliments her appearance. How handsome are your gauzy wings, how brilliant are your eyes, like that. Okay, it's splitting. He wants to show the fly how beautiful she is by offering her a looking glass to look at herself and appreciate her own beauty. The point to be noted is that until now the spider had been asking her to step into his home. Will you walk into my parlor? Like that, the spider told. Will you rest upon my little bed? Will you please to take a slice? But this is the first time he suggests her to do something. I have a little looking glass upon my parlor shelf. If you will step in one moment, dear, you shall behold yourself. But perhaps it affects the fly reply. As he sips her tone from a firm, oh no, no, to a soft, and I thank you, gentle sir. This is the first instance where the readers are made to anticipate the fate of the fly. Either the fly is quite flattered by perhaps she tries to stall the spider by saying that she will visit him some other day. Stanza 5. The spider turned him round about and went to his den, for well he knew the silly fly would soon be back again. So he wove a subtle web in a little corner sly and set his table ready to dine upon the fly. Then he came out to his door again and merrily did sing, "Come hither, hither, pretty fly, with the pearl and silver wing. Your robes are green and purple. There's a crest upon your head. Your eyes are like diamond bright, but mine are dull as lead." Stanza 5 summary. The spider went to his den. The use of the word den is vital here. Traditionally, we associate a spider with a web, but den gives a certain authority to the spider. It makes the spider come across as a strong and superior creature than the fly. He is confident that the fly is flattered and will soon return to him. He weaves a subtle web in a little corner to trap the fly. He carefully sets his dining table and waits for the fly. He refers to the witty and wise fly as silly now that he knows that he has fallen into his trap. The spider eagerly goes to the door and calls out to the fly, "Come hither, hither, pretty fly, beat." He goes on flatter the fly by referring to her pearl and silver wing. He lures her by saying that her robes are green and purple and her eyes are as bright and beautiful as a diamond. He goes on a step forward by comparing the fly's eyes with his own. He says that while the fly's eyes are like shining diamonds, his eyes are just dull as lead. He belittles his own looks to emphasize on the beauty of the fly so that the impact of this flattery becomes stronger. Stanza say, "Alas, alas, how very soon this little silly little fly, hearing his wily flattering words, came slowly flitting by. With buzzing wings she hung aloft, then near and nearer drew, thinking only of her brilliant eyes and green and purple hue, thinking only of her crested head. Poor foolish thing, at last he upjumped the cunning spider and fiercely held her fast. He dragged her up his wing stair into his dismal den within his little parlor, but she never came out again." Stanza 6 summary. The spider seems even more confident now. The weapon of vanity worked out for him, and he finally deceived the fly to succumb to his evil desires. The fly is bewitched by the spider's flattery and decides to slowly approach the spider web. The fly is engrossed in her own beauty and thinks only of her brilliant eyes and her crested head. Taking advantage of this moment, the spider pounces on her and fiercely catches her. The spider quickly drags her up to his winding stair and then to his den and finally to his little parlor. The fly's words finally hold true for her own self as well as she never comes out of the devious fly's home. Stanza 7. And now, dear little children, who may this story read, to idle, silly flattering words I pray you never give heed. Unto an evil counselor close heart, and take a lesson from this tale of the spider and the fly. We observe a sudden change in the tone and narration of the poem in the last stanza. The poet carefully transforms the story into a message to the children reading the poem. The poet advises and warns the children not to pay attention to idle, silly and flattering words. She asks everyone to take a lesson from the story of the spider and the fly and asks them not to commit the same mistake that the fly committed. The spider and the fly reveals the story of the cunning spider that allures a naive fly with his devious words and finally makes her fall into his trap. The spider tries to convince the fly to step into his home, and he tries to entice her with the promise of showing her some pretty things in his home. He offers her a comfortable bed. He tries to deceive her by faking concern for the fly's weariness. He tries to befriend the fly by cordially welcoming her to his pantry. However, the fly is smart enough not to fall into his trap. She repeatedly dismisses him by telling him what she is aware of what happens to the victims that enter his trap. The spider then attempts to please her vanity by calling her wings beautiful and her eyes bright and shiny. He flatters the fly in order to trick her. He even suggests the fly to have a look at her own beauty in his home. The fly is flattered by his deceiving guesses and plans on visiting the spider again. And when the fly comes back to the spider, he catches her instantly. The poem ends with a small message to all the children. The poet cautions the children against flattery by giving counselors. He asks them to take a lesson from the fly's foolishness, resulting in her tragic, and warns them not to be deceived by false flattery. Finally, we understood the message from this poem. We will lose our money or possession if we fall a prey or flattery. Our life may be completely changed for the worse, and getting back the possession we lose may become impossible. Flattery may please us, but it will lead to our downfall. The spider cunningly traps the fly using the art of the flattery. In the beginning, the fly was cautious enough to see through the web of deception. The spider goes on heaping prizes on the weight, wisdom, beauty, and brilliance of the fly. But at the end, the fly became a prey to the guiles of the spider. She never came out of the dismal den, and the spider had its last laugh. Okay, so student, be careful from your enemies.